So it's Diet, Health and Fitness Show today, Thursday in June, and it's gorgeous sunny weather outside. But we can't tell in here, can we? So who are we? So Kim Patel stayed with me.
Hello.
And we've got Ben here as well, all the way from Shrewsbury.
Good afternoon.
Hello, Ben. And Tracy.
Hello. So you locked Kim in after the last show.
I've been trying to get out.
Well, I'm glad you've stayed, and thank you for joining us, Ben.
And she's a willing victim, most
We've got
definitely.
Lots of subjects to talk about
much to
today.
talk about today.
Okay, so something that's been in the news quite a bit today is something called Ubble. It's quite difficult to actually Google because I've just tried it, but if you go to Ubble, ubble.co.uk, it takes you straight to something that's called the UK Longevity Explorer. Denise, you've got more information on what it actually is.
Yes, so this is all about, it's an online test to predict whether you'll die in the next 5 years. And you have to be between the age of 40 and 70 to do the test. So there's one person in the studio who doesn't qualify. Lucky Ben.
Spring chicken.
And what's happening is that two scientists in particular have been looking at a number of people in this age bracket, and they've taken blood samples, urine samples, blood pressure, all of the usual things you would expect that doctors would do to help you establish how healthy you are or not. But this test is slightly different in that they're asking you things to do with, firstly, your age. It's to do with your activity. It's to do whether you smoke or not. So I took the test earlier this morning, and so did Tracy. So what did you find, Tracy, when you did the test?
Okay, well, it didn't come out with a big thing saying doom, 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 doom. It actually gives you something called your Ubble age, which mine was 36, and it said I had as much chance of dying within 5 years as a 36-year-old. And as Ben quite rightly pointed out when we were listening to the Foo Fighters, that doesn't take into account getting run over by a bus or outbreak of war or anything like that. That's to do with my own health issues. What about yourself, Denise?
Yeah, mine was nearly 10 years younger and a 1.1% chance of dying in the next 5 years as any other 48-year-old. Hey! So that's nice. But yeah, so the questions were really easy to answer. There's nothing difficult about them at all. One thing I did notice was, as a man, you get asked 2 extra questions than a woman does, but I don't know what the 2 extra questions were, so I thought that would be interesting.
And I can't help out
to
today,
find
sorry.
Out. Well, we might have to make it up. I have to make you 40 for today.
Well, just have me back
test.
in the autumn, and we'll do it again once I've crossed the barrier.
With
sure.
cake, maybe.
Yeah.
What I quite liked about this one is every time I do anything about health and longevity, even the stuff we've been doing with Kirsty Percival, it focuses on the weight first. And so when you take my weight into account, suddenly my metabolic age is 50. So I like Ubble. Thank you very much, Ubble. So, Kim, if you're okay, we'll do the test while we're listening to George Ezra.
No problem.
And then we'll see what your Ubble age is. But I'm pretty certain you're going to be young and spring chicken-like as well.
I hope so. Big pressure now.
So we didn't get Kim's results. We've stalled there. It just completely stopped and said, sorry, we need to diagnose your connection problem. So I don't know.
Not my connection problems.
I don't know if that's a good sign or not. But Ben, we did Ben, and we found out what the other questions are related to a man. But actually, as we were going through it, me and Denise realised we were asked different questions
Slightly
as well,
different,
which was
yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Because it asked Ben how many cars he'd got. And
It asked me how many cars. I was definitely asked that one.
Yeah, I wasn't asked how many cars, no. And I wasn't asked how many people are living in my household.
No, I don't remember that one.
But Ben's Ubble age is 36,
Dun, dun, dun.
with a less than 1% chance of dying within the next 5 years.
Yeah.
As long as nobody runs him over or,
Please
takes
don't.
a hit out on him. Or
I'll try not to say anything today that might put me in a firing line.
So if you're interested in doing that, I think the problems with the connections are probably that so many people are going onto that website now. But it's a survey that was designed by The Lancet, so it's got a certain amount of credibility. I'd be interested to know some more of the details, so that's what I'm going to have a read as to how they worked out the statistics. Anything else we've got to talk about then? I want to talk about a number of different things, but I'd like to hear what you've got to say, Denise. You look ready.
Yeah,
and
no,
poised.
one of the things is stand more at work, as we're all sat here chatting. So more about being on your feet when you're at work. So I'd like to have a little chat about that, because there is a website attached to that as well. So you can go to onyourfeet.org.uk to see how sort of suggestions they've got that might help you at work.
Okay.
And what do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about period pants.
Lucky
Lowering
me.
the tone
Sorry,
again.
it's lunchtime again. But it's following on, actually. I'm glad you stayed, Kim, because a few weeks ago when you were on the show, we talked about moon cups and diva cups.
Yep.
And another article popped up on the Huffington Post this week. And I thought, actually, I want to bring that one up. So let's have a listen to One Republic I've got lined up next, and then we'll talk about standing up. What's the website, Denise, so that people can go and have a look?
It is, I've written it down here, onyourfeet.org.uk.
Okay, just before Denise talks about standing up, working, just to reassure you that Kim is okay. Hubble has finally agreed to give her an age, and that's 35, which is quite pleasing. 9 years younger than you are, is that right?
Yeah, very pleased.
And 0.3% chance of dying within the next 5 years.
Reassuring.
Okay.
Perhaps you need to stand up as well, and that could increase your chances of living longer as well.
Yes,
According to
absolutely.
this. So this is a little article that I've come across in one of the Sunday magazines. So it says, "Don't sit down." A new campaign called On Your Feet Britain, and you can go to onyourfeet.org.uk, says that sitting for long periods at work is linked to a stack of health problems and recommends standing up and walking around the office regularly. You could even consider holding your meetings standing up. Make your phone calls while moving around. And there is this big drive to encourage people who sit in offices to be much more active. I do find myself wondering if call centres would take this up. I bet they wouldn't. So, Ben, you were talking about Qigong
Yeah, that's
and
right.
standing. So
Yeah.
just tell us about that.
Well, I mean, for over 20 years, I've been practicing various forms of Qigong, and one of the key practices I use is something called Zhamzhong, which is taught in the UK by Master Lam Kan Chuen, and it actually translates as standing like a tree. So you can actually find his work on YouTube, Stand Still Be Fit, and it's using Qigong practices to actually strengthen the musculature of the body, nervous system, lymphatic system, circulatory system, and just by standing still, and there are 5 primary postures that you can do, you make a significant improvement to your strength, your wellness, and it's a core principle of not only my self-practice but of the classes that I run on a regular basis in Shrewsbury, and the new Sunday Qigong in the Park that we just started last week, and of the workshops I'm going to be doing up at the Eden Festival in Scotland in 2 weeks' time.
Sounds so exciting. Just give us an indication of one of the standing exercises. You said there are 5.
Yeah, well, one of the core exercises, and perhaps one of the most commonly known within Qigong, is the holding the ball posture. So it looks a little bit like you're sat on a bar stool. So you've got just a little bit of a bend in your knees, lengthened back, and your arms are kind of up in front of you, so that your hands are kind of at chest height. And we always kind of say that the middle fingers are kind of like nipple line. And you just imagine that you're holding a massive beach ball, and then focus on relaxing, breathing, softening the body, and just really being aware of where your balance and your pressure are within your body. And it makes a phenomenal difference. It's very challenging, and even to do 5 or 10 minutes of that is incredibly beneficial. But if you can work yourself up to 20-30 minutes within that kind of practice, you get amazing benefits, not just for the body but for the mind as well. And works very much with the mindfulness side of things, because it allows all of that kind of chatter in the mind to just ebb away, and you just end up being very present in whatever environment you do. Hence why we're doing the summer kind of park practice now.
Sounds fab. I think I might be practising that in my garden later.
Do it.
I use some Qigong movements in my stress courses, mindfulness for stress courses.
Yeah.
They're really relaxing, and you can get the breath involved with the movement as well, and it almost feels like for me, it kind of feels like I'm pushing down some of that sort of negativity.
Yeah, and
really
there is
powerful.
Beautiful crossover between Qigong practices, which come mainly from the body side but are very much fundamental to mental development, and the mindfulness, which is mind but then has that crossover into the body. So it's a fantastic synthesis.
Yeah.
So the classes that you're doing in the park on a Sunday morning, how do people find out about that? Because it sounds like a fantastic thing to do on a sunny Sunday morning anyway. But,
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way, we have a Facebook group which is Qigong in the Park Shrewsbury Summer Sundays, and we also have on the integralhealthshrewsbury.com website, you can go to events and it's listed on there as well.
Fantastic. Okay, there's an article that I read in Huffington Post earlier this week, the headline being period pants. So, of course, I've got to look at period pants. And apparently there's a new design of a lady's undergarments designed to replace, well, not just yet, but the long-term plan is to replace other sanitary products. And they just, looking at the picture, they just look like a normal pair of pants. They're black and they're designed to absorb flow of up to, and it says here, up to 2 tampons worth of flow, which seems quite a lot really, but they're washable. And so instead of wearing a pad, you would wear a pair of knickers and then take them off and put them in presumably a bag if you're out and about, and then change and put another pair of knickers on. I'm thinking washable nappies here. I had them for my kids, and you had a similar sort of system.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Looking at me with,
a bit.
I'm not sure about
practicalities of it all. I don't know.
Yeah, I followed the thread on Facebook, and people were saying, "Oh, great idea," or as other people pointed out, well, what happens if you're wearing a one piece? I went to onesie. Ben mentioned catsuit, far more sophisticated.
Dungarees.
Yeah, dungarees.
Tights.
Anything, yeah, tights. So actually, just whipping off your knickers in a public toilet. to
put a clean pair on.
Yeah, but maybe it's a little like the moon cup. I don't know. And we talked about that a few weeks ago. It's just getting over the barriers of dealing with that. However, what they are talking about at the moment is that they're useful leak protection. So, you use them alongside other sanitary products. I'd be interested to see where they go. We have some concerns. Ben here, the resident chemist, because I'm looking at the makeup of it. It's got a moisture-wicking surface followed by an antimicrobial layer with an absorbent layer and a leak-resistant layer. So apparently there's 4 different layers on there. But we might be wondering what's in them to make them quite so absorbent and antimicrobial.
Yeah, I mean, most women are already being exposed to around 500 toxic chemicals a day, many of which are known to cause cancer. And so to have chemicals that are potentially exuding all sorts of fumes next to your most delicate and sensitive lady parts is not necessarily a good idea. But on the other hand, I do like the fact that from an environmental point of view, they would reduce landfill. Yeah. And a lot of non-organic tampons don't really biodegrade. You don't really get a lot of reuse, and there's a lot of horrible chemistry in there. So potentially something that can be reused has some benefits. But I'd want to know about the chemistry in there first of all, because we really do have to be careful about what we're using against our bodies, because it has a massive effect on our brains, our livers, all of our organs really.
Okay, well, if you're interested in going to have a look, the range is called Thinx, and Thinx, and I suppose a little nod towards Spanx. So if you can have sanitary pants, which are also going to hold your tummy in as well, now there's a range of knickers for you. But we'll keep an eye on them, see what developments.
Before Diet, Health and Fitness started, I said at the end of Feed Me that we'd talk about umami. So, Kim, you found an article about umami.
Well, yeah, kind of. Yes, it was about to do with how loud noises like being on an aeroplane can affect your taste. So some researchers, they found that sweetness was suppressed when you're on an aeroplane, for example, but savoury flavours such as umami, which I'd never heard of, and tomato tasted better while flying.
Well, there you go.
I don't quite know what to say to that.
Shall I just play some more music?
What I do know, and I don't fly very often, I choose not to, is that it really affects my ears, which then affects my smell. So that's definitely going to affect my taste.
Absolutely.
So I wonder if that's all linked for most people when they're flying, that ears, smell and taste are affected.
Well, I would imagine then, if you're an airline caterer, that's going to be a big issue for you to consider. So all your tasting...
Or is it?
Is it? I don't know. But one would imagine that if you're doing taste tests and product tests, you'd need to do that at altitude.
In the air, yeah, absolutely.
And if they haven't thought of that, then there you go. But going back to umami, it's one of the 5 pillars of basic tastes, and we haven't really talked about it in the West very much at all. We're all aware of sour, sweet, bitter and salty, and this 5th one, which is sort of Japanese origin, the word umami is actually Japanese. It's one of those taste that we find quite hard to define in the UK, but there is a paste. There's a tube for it. You can get something called, I think it's called a taste number 5, presumably because it's the 5th taste, and it's sold in tubes in Waitrose and Fortnum's and Harrods and places like that, and it's a bit like a gentleman's relish. And to be honest,
what's
I bought
in that?
one.
I can't even remember what's in gentleman's relish.
It's like an anchovy type paste. It's quite salty and savoury.
Yeah.
And I bought a tube quite a few years ago now, and it just sat in the fridge rotting. So it's just like, what are we going to do with this? But you've have you tried some of the Japanese bitter flavours? So the umeboshi plums and
sure. And it's interesting as well, because although it's classing itself as a 5th taste, it's missing out on the fact that in traditional Ayurvedic medicine from India, they would have astringent as the 5th, and that's been a basis within their system for several thousand years. So and this is like unripe bananas, that kind of flavour. So there's almost like a slight dryness and something that tightens up the mouth within there as well. So maybe we're looking at 6 tastes, really, not 5.
I'll go and research that one for next time then, shall we? Okay, so yesterday we had one of our meetings at Villette in Wrexham. Well done, Villette, for getting a top venue in Wrexham on TripAdvisor. They're fantastic.
Excellent.
5 stars for them. And I tried one of their Oreo milkshakes. I'm not normally a fan of milkshakes. I don't like milk, to be fair. So that's an interesting one. But their Oreo milkshake.
The Oreos made up for it, didn't they?
Lovely. So we have a meeting down at Ben's place next Wednesday. And Denise said, have you got milkshake? But you came up with an alternative, Ben, which was nut milks and kefir. Which,
I'm really getting into raw, unpasteurised organic milk at the moment, and actually using it for making my own kefir, which is kind of like a cultured milk
cow's
product.
Milk?
Yes, that's cow milk.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not been pasteurised. It's organic, so it's very, very unprocessed. So it has natural kind of cultures in it that are really good for the gut, and you can ferment it further with kefir grains, which are a type of live culture, and it makes it so beneficial for the digestion. It's incredible. And so I'm just in the evenings now, I'm taking my fresh kefir and I'm mixing it with a little bit of cacao powder, a little bit of Siberian ginseng, some maca powder, a little bit of chlorella, some cinnamon, and just shaking it up, maybe a little bit of fruit, and it's just superb stuff. And just feeling really good for it as well, feeling like there's a natural cleaning going on within my body, and I've definitely noticed an improvement in my gut. And it's just, so I'm going straight after the show, I'm heading over to the farm.
So you're going to say to the loo?
No. Thankfully not. Heading over to the farm near Crewe to go and get some more of the raw milk so I can keep the process up.
I think we shy away from fermented, raw and unpasteurised foods, don't we? I think we're a little bit scared of them in general.
We've been conditioned not to have them.
Yes.
Really
yes.
have.
And because one of the things I'm quite keen to try is sauerkraut, but it's still one thing that scares me.
It's really nice.
Kimchi and other kind of fermented foods like that. Again, they stimulate a part of your palate that you don't regularly get kind of stimulated, but they're just so good for the body. I'd really encourage everybody to acquire a taste for them.
So if you're wanting to try raw unpasteurised milk, do you have to go to a specialist outlet for them? It's not readily available.
No, that's right, because it's not kind of, in a lot of ways, encouraged across the country. And the reason is that from a milk marketing kind of point of view, it's much, much easier to pasteurise milk because it will stay fresh in a different way. Although raw milk only goes sour, it doesn't actually go off, so it will never go mouldy. You just get sour cream. But I'm getting my milk from realrawmilk.co.uk, which is a farm over near Crewe. And so beautiful condition, because it means that the herds are kept in the best health. Whereas with some of the milk products we get in the supermarket, they're coloured, they're filtered, they do all sorts of weird stuff to it. And you get whole milk, which means plenty of fat. And actually the fat increases lactose tolerance because there's a smaller proportion of lactose in the milk because there's a greater proportion of fat. So you actually metabolise it much more easily and much less likely to have reactions.
So when you go and get your supplies now, how much would you get? How much raw milk would you take home?
Today I'm going to go and get myself 16 litres. Wow. And I'm actually going to freeze it in batches because it freezes really well. And then once you defrost it, it's got about 7-day shelf life, so you can keep it in the fridge and it's good for 7 days. So then I can break that down and make fresh kefir from it every day and use it for sauces and other stuff. And
where are you getting the kefir granules from as well?
I actually just did a search online because you can get starter cultures that are kind of like a packet thing, but they'll work with almost any milk, but they always recommend you use organic. But you can also get live kefir cultures, and there are a couple of websites online where you can just buy live kefir cultures, and they send it through the post to you, and then you start. And once you get your kefir going, as long as you feed it every day with fresh milk, that you pay once and that's it. You will keep them going for the rest of your life.
It's a bit like a sourdough, in that you keep it feeding it.
Absolutely, same kind of principle.
Okay, I'm game. If you can bring some along next Wednesday,
you're on.
Give it a go.
Yeah,
definitely.
Okay, well, we're at the end of the show. That seems to have gone really quickly,
flown
everybody.
by.
Yeah. If you stay tuned after the news, I'm talking to Rich Brady of Recruit Packs, who had a few weeks ago an entrepreneurial epiphany. So I'm really intrigued to know what his entrepreneurial epiphany is, because I've been practicing saying that all morning. Okay, well, thanks very much for joining us in the studio. Thanks for staying on, Kim. We'll let you out the studio now. You're all right. You're free to go. Thank you for coming all the way from Shrewsbury, and enjoy your trip over to Crewe. It's a great day for it. I'm trusting it's not raining now.
No, sure, we don't know what's outside, do we?
It's going to be sunny all day.
You.
Yay!
Have a good week, everybody. See you soon.